It's a beautiful morning here in Medford, Oregon. Oops, I just gave my position away. How smart am I? They're getting ready for a big classic car show tomorrow. It's kind of cool and breezy. And I just wanted to briefly talk about what I'm seeing happening right before our eyes, the expression of the fake conservative, totally fake conservative that's being acted out in many ways, dishonest lies. For example, the deportation of, and the bait and switch, I want to say, from the con man sales guy, who is the Little Hord of the book of Daniel. And many people see that. That's not original to me. But I certainly have seen it from the evidence and that other, like, really pretty big, much bigger channels than me have been speaking about for years. And I'll put some links in the description. And of those channels, if anybody's interested in the truth, rather than just trying to be right all the time, because that's not gonna help anybody's soul. When we're off course and wrong, it should be like an invention. You develop it and you work out the kinks and you work out what doesn't work. That's the same thing with our souls. Excuse me. If we're not like that, we're going to be doomed. And this is such a temporary life. This is only a test and a training for forever, for eternity, ever, 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 ever. We don't want to end up in darkness without love, unless, maybe some people do want that and will, in a sick way, enjoy it, but I don't. And I know most people, well, I don't know, maybe not most people, but I know a lot of people. I just do my best to try to help wake up people as I'm being awakened. But the bait and switch is that, through, you guys all saw, in the rallies and everything, what Trump does is he calls out these people as, the illegal aliens. And I'm not supporting, illegal coming in our country, but I understand, I have some empathy for them. God knows their country is being led by, much worse people in general than ours, and there's not much opportunity, so they come up here, most of them, and I've seen them. I've traveled all over the Pacific Northwest, West Coast, doing sales shows, road shows, and other work, and I've seen them. Most of these Latino, many of them I've seen have been, I haven't asked them, but you could kind of tell they're illegal. They are extremely hardworking. Like, very, that's kind of known. So that's like most of them. And then you have the minority, small group that are criminals. They have a criminal background. But Trump talks like he doesn't couch it in those kind of words. He doesn't frame it in the reality. So that's to put a judgment in people's minds about most of them, so that when he does things that are not like what he said that he would do, and like past administrations have done, is to deport the criminals, or put them in jail. Here they prosecute them for crimes that they commit, but he's slandered them all to make all the Republicans feel like it's okay what they're doing now with Kristi Noem, the cruel lady that she thinks she's in some beauty pageant, big egotistical, but she speaks like a lawyer. She speaks very smooth. I don't know why she did this, but she exposed or wrote about that and this is a grown woman, governor, and she shot one of her dogs because it wasn't performing or something. It was like a puppy. She shot it and killed it. Like, what kind of human would do that? Well, the kind of human that would speak as she is now, lying, and again, going with Trump's BS that these most of these are criminal when we know they're not. It's not a criminal element. Yeah, they committed crime by coming in the country, but they're not criminal like they're talking about. That's like well known. But it's like it's a kind of brainwashing to try to get the right to judge and to pacify them so they just don't do anything about what they're doing. Is they're rounding up people like at Home Depot and stuff, these working class people, and they're getting ready, to deport them, rather than, so it's a bait and switch, rather than mostly going after what he said, and what past administrations did, go after the criminal element. No, they're going after low-hanging fruit, anyone that looks like they're here illegally. And then please God they get a hearing, of course. Although it wouldn't surprise me if they ship them out just like they did illegally without due process, which doesn't mean a trial like the liar Trump said. It just means a quick hearing, that's all, to make sure that, because man has fallen and you have to have a backup by the judicial system. And that's why it's in the Constitution. But Trump doesn't care about the Constitution. That's very, very clear. That's not an opinion. That's the way he's acting. And he did so by calling up the Marines and the National Guard and federalizing them, which was not even legal. And the California, it's like a few blocks where all that protesting was going on, the violent part. It's not like you think it's, oh my God, all of LA. And Trump again was lying, saying, well, if we didn't call up the Marines, etc., LA would have burned down. Again, that's like total exaggeration con to get people to believe what he did, which was illegal, was right. And the fact of the matter is the CHP, California, and the calling up the National Guard by Gavin and the police, the LAPD, they're used to this protesting, violence, and they got it underhand pretty quickly. National Guard was sitting there, most of them didn't even have active orders, knew what to do, so anyway, it's a drama, it's an act, to make him look strong, once again. And I was gonna say something else. Yeah, that's like things are escalating, and the sad thing is the right and Republicans they're sort of brainwashed in the way that I've explained, and worse. And now we have to rely on the Democrats, expose the unconstitutional, illegal behavior of Trump, and that's, I applaud them, but I've never voted for a Democrat in my life. But I'm not so stupid to not see, that they are not all evil. And that's another brainwashing. Mass media on the right, like Rush Limbaugh and others, have beat the drums for so many years to help create the already existing resentments and judgments for the left that now you can't. A lot of people can't. They're so they're wrong, we're right, and the wrong of them. They can't see that there's some good in them that is standing up against this massive constitutional king-like attack. It's very, very obvious, but you should be able to applaud someone like Gavin Newsom standing up to it, and how wrong and unfactual that Trump is describing the situation. And it's like federalism. It's running roughshod over the conservative ideal that we've always stood for, that it's states' rights over the federal rights. But yet now you guys are a lot of you are just going along with it. And that's not good. That's like you've been compromised in your soul, because you're so used to seeing them as wrong, and they mostly are wrong. I'm not saying they're not, but it's like Roy Masser said, a lot of the liberals, they have some good ideas. They're not all evils, most of them. And you should you should be able to see the good that they're doing now and set aside, not agree with it, but at least see the good. It's kind of like when Russia did most of the fighting against the Nazis, It's like common sense. You know that they're not good, they're communists, but you saw the good that they did on that. That didn't mean you agreed with Stalin and all that. It's kind of common sense, but so many on the right have just been deflecting their own weakness, their own cowardly nature, their own lack of spirituality by resenting and focusing on the left. And it's become like a religion. And that's really, really unhealthy. And plenty of people like Rush Limbaugh, I'm not saying they're bad people, but they're bad in this way. And Sean Hannity and many others. And, they've become millionaires drumming up and this resentment and this focus away from our own weakness and cowardliness that we need to see. And so we can feel all better and all strong by resenting the obvious crazy left who promotes sex change operations and such, horrible. But I think most of the Democrats don't support that, but many of them do. But so that's like they've become millionaires doing that. You guys, like you're being used as fodder for these people and Trump to become so wealthy off of your sins. And Trump did it through his casinos and stuff like that, and very wealthy, waste of money, hotels, and it's like we've got to like not live by right good, left bad. It's not like that. I mean, it's largely like that, but not totally like I've described. So if you're living that way, I hope you come out of it. I hope you practice the Roy Masters Be Still exercise in a really genuine way, only to serve good, to be clear-seeing individual, so that you don't live by the words and self-talk and talking to people in your head and all the words in our head. Just live like we learn to live like a child again. We just dismiss all the words in our head, all the thinking, David Masters, Alan Masters, who always talks about, I thought about this, I think about that, and thinking, when that's the exact opposite of what Jesus taught. He said, don't think about things, don't worry about things, what you're going to be clothed with, what you're going to say. And Roy Masters showed us the method for that, to get separate from thinking. That's the whole Roy Masters Be Still exercise. So these, unfortunately, Roy's siblings are all wet on that. And they just, because there's a false conscience that then it thinks and it imitates good, but it's words and thinking in the head. And that's exactly what we need to be watchful all day long. And that's real prayer. And that's the way to live. It's happy. It's a free spirit that way. And you just watch all these weird, judgmental, and mean words or ideas in our head and let it pass. And then you become kind of dumb, and you don't, there's hardly anything going on in your head, sometimes. And then once in a while you might, you'll get insight, or then when you do share with people, or like I'm doing this video, then that's when the light comes out. But it's like you didn't even know it, but it just, like you're teaching, like the light is teaching you too, as you're speaking and sharing. Otherwise, we just feel kind of like dummies, and that's good, because that's a humble state, and we're not thinking about things. We may wonder, have a question, but you don't go into the thinking to do that. No, big mistake. That's where the demons live, in the false, little crafty false conscience. And unfortunately, the people running Roy's blessed, that was blessed, it's shipwrecked now, totally, FHU. They don't see that differentiation between the silent intuition and the thinking false conscience. And I've done my best to try to show them that in a patient way, but I've only been vilified for it. And I understand why, but it's a pretty wicked thing to do to someone like me. But anyway, God bless you, and I'll put links as soon as I can in the description. Bye-bye.